Welcome back to the show. Our next clip comes from LGBTQ Nation and is commentary from Alex Bollinger, who reflects about the growing anger in the United States about civil and human rights for transgender people, especially youth. With gasoline and diesel fuel prices, grocery prices, healthcare costs all rising, and so much grift coming from the White House, as Chris Hayes summarized in our opening clip, the question is, how do voters channel that anger? How do we oppose it? People are outraged at what Trump has been doing to the country, but what will that anger do? Representative Becca Balint, a Democrat from Vermont, spoke for a lot of us earlier this week when she asked outside the Capitol about Donald Trump's mental health, which is obviously not good. While there are a lot of examples of outlandish behavior, Balint brought up some recent examples that would have been enough to tank any Democratic president. Trump insulting journalists for asking him tough, and not even all that tough, really, questions. Then she said something that really sums up how a lot of people on the left are feeling. We continue to normalize it by not calling it out for what it is. Do we, though? People have been definitely calling this out. Earlier this week, Bollinger wrote an article about a Democratic State House primary in Pennsylvania that surprised him as he was writing it. And that's hard to do. The content management system says he has written over 7,000 articles for LGBTQ Nation. One Democrat in the primary, Allegheny County Council President Patrick Catena, sent voters a mailer accusing another Democrat in the primary of being supported by an organization that advocates for transgender athletes in our sports. The community in the Blue City is livid. Catena apologized, but people still demanded his resignation. People filled up a county council meeting to speak out against Catena, accusing him of bullying kids with his mailer and contributing to teen suicidality. His colleagues scheduled a vote to give him the boot. He tried donating $500 to a local trans organization to smooth things over. They sent the money back to him and started their own fundraiser called $500 Will Not Buy Our Silence. What surprises him is that perhaps he's been living in the jaded world that Representative Balint described. He goes on to say, I have been watching the Trump administration attack LGBTQ plus people's rights, and especially trans people's rights, for over a year. This administration has taken dozens of actions that will definitely harm trans people 10 times more than Catena's mailer will, and it shows no signs of stopping. More importantly, no one seems to be able to stop Trump and his administration, not voters, not career staff at executive agencies, definitely not congressional Democrats, and certainly not even the courts. When trans advocates sued to stop Trump's trans military ban, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned a lower court's injunction, allowing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to kick transgender service members out before they could even have their cases heard. The trans military ban is just one thing that the administration has done that will do a lot more damage than a local election mailer that refers vaguely to transgender athletes. It didn't even misgender those athletes. And then there's Trump's attacking trans people's healthcare access, rescinding people's correctly gendered passports, forcing inmates to detransition, and removing protection for LGBTQ plus workers, and on and on. And that's just LGBTQ plus issues. Trump has been causing so much harm across the board, including starting a literal war where he immediately had the military bomb a school. And it doesn't seem like anything can be done about it. Representative Balint's frustration is understandable, and she is far from the only person saying what she's saying. I see several people every day arguing on social media that Trump's actions are being normalized, that no one is calling them out, even while I see a bunch of people calling them out. I've called them out here on Pep Radio. I see people calling out the mainstream media for not covering Trump's latest bad deed while linking to mainstream media articles about said bad deed in the very same social media post. We use mainstream media here at PEP Radio. We use HuffPost. We use the Associated Press. We use sources from outside the United States, like CBC, the BBC from Great Britain, Deutsche Welle from Germany, and others. The issue is that calling him out doesn't have much of an effect. People across the country can protest his actions in demonstrations that bring together some of the biggest crowds in U.S. history. Think of the No Kings protests. And Trump and his administration brush them off as paid actors. Trump's approval rating can drop to historic lows, and he will just call the numbers fake and blame the press. The problem isn't that no one is speaking out. The problem is that speaking out isn't producing results. Unlike most politicians, even those on the right, Trump has found that just ignoring his critics renders them powerless. The worst case scenario for him is losing his next election, which doesn't really apply to someone in his second term in the country's highest office. Criminal prosecution after his term won't happen, not with this current Supreme Court. The American people actually did vote him out of office after his first term in any elected position at all in 2020. And he just told himself that he didn't lose the election, that Democrats cheated. 4 years later, a sizable share of voters forgot why they hated him, so they voted for him again. Losing the 2020 election didn't make him quit politics out of rage or despair. It didn't make him face justice for his crimes, and it didn't even keep him out of elected office in the future. It's not just that there is no hope for change, there is no hope for retribution. This is all very disempowering. Realizing that Trump's bad actions will not result in any meaningful consequences for him is an assault on the very basic need for human justice, a need that runs so deep that entire religions were built around the idea that the cosmos or an omniscient God will surely give everyone what they deserve in the end. That shines a light on both what's going on in Pittsburgh and Bollinger's reaction to it. For over a year now, most of the time in politics, nothing mattered. Speaking out doesn't matter. Demanding impeachment votes doesn't matter. Posting to social media does not matter. So it is genuinely surprising to see political actions actually matter. And here's the thing. We posted over 5,000 news stories, news videos here on PEP Radio. Are they making a difference? You tell us in the comments. And for the people who are rightly outraged at Katina, this is an opportunity to effect change. This is a local race down in Pittsburgh, down in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. For someone seeking higher office, someone who attends regular local meetings where people can tell him to his face what they think of him. Someone who needs marginalized communities on his side. Someone who can actually be voted out of his current position and denied a career in politics. Most of all, Katina is a Democrat, so he'll at least listen. But speaking out doesn't matter in most of politics right now. Here it does. So a lot of pent-up energy from other parts of the political world is being directed here. Not defending Katina or his actions, says Bollinger. He saw that mailer and approved it, despite the fact that some of the organizations that backed his campaign also support trans athletes. Best guess for why that line about trans athletes was included in his mailer is that he thought that was the way the wind was blowing. Turns out he was wrong. And it's great that people are making that much known to him. This is a sign of how much repressed discontent there is in the United States right now and the level of unrest that is actively looking for an outlet. And that's something everyone in politics would be wise to pay attention to. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages.